to confirm Mr. Scalia, and I certainly hope that the Senate does, and I believe the Senate will. We've known for 2 months that President Trump intended for Mr. Scalia to be the secretary. He announced that intention on July the 18th. We've had all of his papers since August the 27th. Those are the government ethics papers and the committee papers that are necessary to have. They all came a month ago. He gave us a copy of all of his writings. He came to a hearing the other day. The presiding officer was there. He testified for 3 hours. We had 2 rounds of questions. Senators could ask anything they want. He offered to visit over the last month with every member of our committee and did with all but 2. And so we know plenty about Mr. Scalia. He answered another 418 questions that committee members had of him after his hearing. I think 2 years is long enough to consider him, to consider all that information. I remember that when President Obama's Secretary of Education stepped down in his last year, in the president's last year of that term, I encouraged the president to nominate John King, whom the president wanted to nominate, but he was afraid he couldn't be confirmed because we disagreed with him, the Republican majority. I disagreed with him. But I said, Mr. President, it's important for you to have a confirmed member of your cabinet and to have that person considered and confirmed promptly if they're going to be considered. And it's important to the Senate to have a cabinet member who goes through the process of questions and advice and consent. That's our most important function in many ways. And so we confirmed John King in a month. Well, we've had 2 months to consider Mr. Scalia, and that should be enough. He has a broad background in labor and on employment. He's a partner in a major Washington, D.C. law firm, so he knows all the issues. He spent a year as Solicitor of Labor in the George W. Bush administration. He left the firm to be Special Assistant to the Attorney General of the United States in 1992. Academically, he's very well prepared. He went to the University of Virginia, was Editor-in-Chief of the University of Chicago Law Review. He's been a guest lecturer, an adjunct professor at Chicago and at the Clark School of Law. He's very well qualified. And it's important for the department to have a well-qualified, steady hand there. I like the demeanor that Mr. Scalia showed in his hearing. The Democratic members of the committee were there, and they were very vigorous in their questioning, but I also like the fact that they were courteous to him. I mean, they didn't take the attitude that sometimes happens in the United States Senate, that you're innocent until nominated. They took the attitude, he was a well-qualified person with whom they disagreed, so they asked him questions. He answered them, and he did a good job. I like the fact that the Trump administration has taken steps to create a more stable environment by having a more sensible joint employer standard that doesn't make it more difficult for American families to own and operate franchises. 700,000 Americans have franchises. It's the way you get into the middle class in America. And we need a steady hand there to make sure that happens properly. I like the fact that the administration is having a more reasonable overtime rule. The overtime threshold needed to be changed, but the last administration changed it abruptly, raised it too fast. It caused church camps in Atlanta to have to lay off people and close in the summer, had all sorts of unintended consequences, bipartisan opposition. The administration has announced yesterday, I believe, a more reasonable step. So those are the kind of steps that could be taken. Association health plans. There is among the people in America who have the hardest time paying for insurance are those who make $50,000 a year and don't get a government subsidy. Association health plans help people who work for small businesses to be able to get the same kind of insurance that people who work for IBM or big businesses do. Insurance that covers pre-existing condition, all of those sorts of protections. It's been estimated by Avalier that the association health plan rule that the Department of Labor put out would help 3 to 4 million Americans be able to afford health insurance, save their premium costs by several $1,000s a year. Mr. Scalia can work on that. I received 32 letters of support in support of Mr. Scalia's nomination from small business owners, employers, industry groups, his colleagues and mentees. I would like to submit all of those, including my entire speech, to the record, but I will mention a couple. Former Obama administration official Cass Sunstein wrote, quote, His decency, meaning Mr. Scalia, is part of what makes him someone who tends to go case by case and to end up where the facts and the law take him. He does not have an ideological straitjacket. He takes issues on their merits, unquote. And Thomas Sussman, who was Senator Ted Kennedy's counsel, wrote, quote, Gene is precisely the kind of person our country needs in the cabinet, experienced, ethical, professional, open-minded, fair, and brilliant. There are a number of other letters from career attorneys, Chicago Law Review editorial board members, Fraternal Order of the Police members, and others. Suffice it to say that the country is fortunate that the President has nominated Eugene Scalia to be the United States Secretary of Labor. He has conducted himself admirably in the 2-month process of going through the Senate confirmation. We have a chance to bring that to a conclusion tomorrow, and my hope is that the Senate will confirm him and that he will be in office by the end of the week. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor.